Well, next week in London there opens a film which is not so much a film as a screened obsession. It's a version of Dickens' Little Dorrit that will play in 2 parts and runs altogether for 6 hours. Now that's a lot of movie. It's half as long again as the full stage version of Hamlet. And not surprisingly, it took the director, Christine Edzard, whose obsession it was, 4 years to make. Well, more of that next week. For the moment, we'll concentrate on the star of the picture, Sir Alec Guinness, Oscar winner for Bridge on the River Kwai, special Oscar winner for general excellence, and taken all in all, one of the most versatile actors in the business. In Little Dorrit, he plays the father of the eponymous heroine, and he's here with me now. So, Alec, were you in any way daunted when you were asked to play Dorrit to learn that the film's going to run for 6 hours?
I thought it was an absolutely astonishing, foolhardy job. I'm not daunted from my own point of view, but I thought, how the heck are they going to do a film which is in 2 parts for that amount of time? But they've brought it off.
What about the character of Dorrit that you play? Presumably you don't just take a part because it's offered to you. There must be something there that attracts you. What was it that attracted you to that role?
Well, flattered, first of all, to be asked to do it. Then thought I'd better read the novel, which I'd never done. And there's a feckless, vain, silly, but kindly man, full of foolish schemes and a great folie de grandeur when he comes out of prison. And I could see little shades of myself here and there in that, perhaps. Anyway, I thought it was worth making a stab at.
What parts of yourself did you find in that list of adjectives, none of which is terribly complimentary?
Wrong decisions, stupidities, sometimes thinking things are going to turn out wonderfully well when they're not. I mean, just not thinking things through.
See to my cuff, Amy, if you please. How long you've been. You're a good girl. You're a very good girl. My favorite child. It's not very hot. Were there any letters?
No, Father.
What am I to do if that letter doesn't come? What am I to do, fettered as I am? Are you quite sure there were no letters? Can't someone carry the hot water for you?
It's not heavy.
My daughter shouldn't be seen carrying the hot water.
You watched that, the blank face. Were you unimpressed, or do you just not like seeing yourself on screen?
I don't like seeing myself on screen, but I'm afraid under the blank face, I had an admiration, not for myself, let me hasten to add, but for Dickens and the wonderful variety of thoughts you get through that. I mean, the vanity, the petulance, the snobism, the selfishness, all there in every sentence.
Would it be true to say that the film part anyway, that brought you most first strongly to the public attention was again in Dickens, was Oliver Twist in Fagin? Now, I believe that you had to fight very hard to get that role.
I don't know whether I had to fight. I approached David Lean saying, you know, I would love to play Fagin, and I was, what, 34, 35, something like that. And he obviously thought it was a bit mad as an idea.
Why are you awake? Speak out, boy, quick.
I couldn't sleep any longer, sir.
What have you seen?
Nothing, sir.
You were not awake an hour ago.
No, indeed, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
My dear. I only tried to frighten you. Did you see any of those pretty things, dear?
What do you think of that one?
Howard Davis is splendid. I don't know. It's a bit theatrical, isn't it?
Because after Kind Hearts and Coronets, which came very soon after Oliver Twist, you were given this name of the man of 1,000 faces. It took you a long time to live that down, didn't it?
Oh, that was a publicity stunt which has dogged me not all my life, but for so many years.
To go back just a little way, not very far, you suddenly developed a whole new following. Again, I would have thought this might well have been rather surprising to you with Star Wars. Is it true that you didn't really know what character you were playing in Star Wars?
I didn't quite know what he was meant to be. No, I must admit that. But I enjoyed it, and George Lucas was fine to work with from my point of view. And I believed in it. I had no conception that it would be the success that it was, but I thought this is going to be I mean, once we'd started, this is going to be a quite distinguished piece of work.
You see? You can do it.
I call it luck.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Look, good against remotes is one thing. Good against the living, it's something else. Looks like we're coming up on Alderaan.
You know, I did feel something. I could almost see the remote.
That's good. You've taken your first step into a larger world.
I must say you gave the impression of knowing what it was all about.
The dialogue was pretty awful.
What made you do it then?
I thought, oh, crumbs, Star Wars, science fiction, not for me, and I was bitterly disappointed until I started turning the pages. I could see the dialogue was pretty childish, but I wanted to know what happened next. And really, that's what every film should be about.
There's one further question I must ask you, Sir Alec. You're wearing what looks like designer stubble. Now, I imagine that you are not vying with Mickey Rourke for a part in a film. Could you explain?
No, this is because this is kind of a week old or something like that, and it's got another couple of weeks to go before I go to Venezuela on film location for Evelyn Waugh's A Handful of Dust.
There is quite a nice tie-up, isn't there, between A Handful of Dust and indeed the film we started off discussing this evening, Little Dorrit.
Yes, it's pure coincidence, but the last line that I have to say, I mean, it's in Evelyn Waugh's novel, in A Handful of Dust, is to the young man who's reading Dickens to me. I say, let us read Little Dorrit again. No, lovely from my point of view.
And that, as they used to say in the pictures, is where we came in. Sir Alec, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I hope you notice how grand we're getting on this programme. First Sir Richard Attenborough, now Sir Alec Guinness. Oh, I tell you, we don't talk to anybody around here unless he's got a title. However, on now to housekeeping. The first